Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kurt, and welcome to episode 246 of Farlands or Bust. Farlands or Bust indeed. Oh, hello Wolfie, hello Creeper, oh gosh. This is rather reminiscent of that one time I got, oh my god, look at all the spiders too. Spoiders? Hey guy. Suck it. Ooh. And you should be, oh god! Holy moly! Okay, I have no idea how the mechanics of creeper damage work, apparently. I thought it was 2 arrows and a sword swing. A diamond sword swing at that, but apparently it's not. That was almost disaster. Woof! Wolfie knows. He's like, what? You're crazy, guy. Why would you ever do that? Why are there all these spiders, too? Well, I guess they all went back home. No, there's 2 right there. They're like a spider spawner over here. Sorry. I am investigating. They're friendly, right? Yes. Excuse me. Oh, what is this? A trench! That's weird. Hello? Oh, the spiders couldn't have come through there. They can't fit there. But anyway, episode 246, like I said. Farlands or Bust. And wow, at the donations to Child's Play charity. Just in the last episode, I announced we reached $25,000, our 25% mark. We are now at $26,183.92. We had very good donations come in. All of them always help, as I always say. Always, 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 always. But one in particular, an anonymous donation of $1,000. Somebody donated an entire 1%. Woof! Of our $100,000 goal this season. Thank you very much, sir or madam, anonymous donation giver, helping kids in hospitals around the world. That's gonna help get many toys, books, and games to those kids in hospitals worldwide. I appreciate it. I'm getting choked up about it. No, that was kind of just my lunch. But no, that's, I mean, I was like, wait a minute, what? This is crazy. Just last episode. So we raised, obviously, in addition to other donations, the $1,000 donation helped us go up quite a bit. It's great. I appreciate it. I apologize for if in the background, nobody's going to notice because I'm pointing it out. I just like to point these things out. There might be a dull hum, like perhaps a giant horse-sized bee is hovering just outside of my window. It is the day for the landscaping. That's we've got lawnmowers and weed whackers and leaf blowers and all sorts of nonsense. I could not wait any longer to record Farlands or Bust, so I have just continued thusly. So hopefully I'm able to, through the magic of computers and noise cancelling, take that out without damaging the fidelity of my dark and deep radio voice, ladies and gentlemen. WBBM, news time, 1:32 p.m. Traffic and sports on the ones. Weather. There would be traffic and weather on the ones. I don't know why they would give sports updates every 10 minutes, but yeah. Hopefully that's not too bad, but we're continuing west. Got a few things going on today, and then still a lot more questions to answer. A lot of those coming from those donations. You can leave a comment with your donation through the not the chip-in widget, dang it. The Child's Play charity donation widget on the homepage of Farlands or Bust, and in that comment you can ask a question, and there's a chance, if I have an answer, or I like the question, or whatever, I will answer it in Farlands or Bust, because it's going to take quite a while for us to get to the Farlands, and I need all the topics to talk about that I could possibly get. So I'm depending on you to make sure that this series just doesn't end up being a recording of somebody walking in Farlands with the gentle hum of motorized lawn implements in the background, and I do in fact have something to talk about. But where was I going? A couple things. I meant to mention this in the last episode, but we had a few donations actually come in who said Schism sent me. Schism, of course, is Schism LP on, or is it Schism Plays? Crap. No, I think it's Schism. Anyway, you know Schism. You know Schism. He's a member of the KGBs and on the Mindcrack fan server, but now also the Hermitcraft server, a funny guy who does YouTube videos. He also wrote the children's book, Meet Charlie, I believe, about his dog, and he donated some of the profits from that to Child's Play charity through Far Lands or Bust. But regardless, he also does another series on YouTube called Real Life Minecraft, where he does these funny things. Obviously a real life video, but interspersed with him talking to his Minecraft character, avatar. Careful, Wolfie. And his latest video was about me, about KurtJMac, Far Lands or Bust. It was kind of funny. He went back and forth about different... Oh, I want that water. And I'm going to go down it, and hopefully Wolfie does as well. Or he'll just jump off the tree! No, okay, let's get him to spawn, get him to spawn. Yay, that kind of worked. I am so smart. Sort of, not really. Do. Woof! But anyway, he made an entire episode of his real-life Minecraft about KurtJMac. And it was very funny. I suggest you check such things out. But I did have, actually, a few Child's Play charity donations come through as a direct result of that. So I do appreciate that. Thank you, Schism! Make sure you subscribe to Schism! That's how you say his name. It's like, Schism! It's like you're pulling off a Band-Aid. Schism! Woof! Right, Wolfie knows. But yeah, so there was that. I also noticed, this is kind of an aside, not really YouTube or Minecraft or KurtJMac related, but the piano music or this is violin music, I guess. You might know Hyperbole and a Half. This is a webcomic. Came into popularity a while ago. It was actually Ali Brosh is the name of the cartoonist, I guess you would say, comedian behind it, and she just started, like most people do on the internet, just posting random blog things, and she included her little MS Paint drawings with them, and it ended up being very popular because she's incredibly funny, both of her drawings and just her sense of humor with the stories she goes along with. It was kind of, as far as I can remember, one of the first times I remember, and this was years ago where she started, where I remember seeing from the get-go somebody showing me that, and that was kind of before, I'm a hipster, kind of before it exploded in popularity, and it was kind of one of those first things where it was like a quote-unquote normal person ended up getting very popular to almost celebrity status on the internet. And obviously, behind that, there's the meme, the internet forever drawing. Clean all of the things came from Hyperbole and a Half. Well, you know, obviously when something gets popular like that, the memes, they come off of it. But she had been missing, well, not missing, but from the internet at least. And there hadn't been any posts for quite a while, months, half a year, over half a year, or maybe even a year. I think it actually was over a year. And she recently made a new post and comic on her site, so that's very exciting. Is that a spawner? That is a spawner. It's a spoiler spawner, and I think this guy's safe. Let's secure, hopefully. Oh no, that's a still god! Wolfie, forget that guy. Let's not. Alright, let's leave. Let's leave! That was a spider. I thought that was a spider spawner. It turns out, well, maybe it is a spider spawner, but a skeleton. Wolfie? Yeah, you forget that guy. Good. You're Wolfie, right? Yeah. I couldn't tell, because the glasses. Okay. Yeah, never mind about that. Let's, well, that's weird. I think he might still be in attack mode. Wolfie, get back here! Wolfie, no. All right, yeah, let's leave this place. Yep, Wolfie, where are you at? Yeah, Wolfie, he keeps trying to go back to attack. No, come attack this chicken, maybe. Hey. You gonna attack the chicken now? Hopefully. Anyway, no, he's gonna just continuously start running towards the, that skeleton, but he keeps then despawning and then spawning over here. But let's go to sleep, and then we will, continue on our way, because is he going after the chicken now? Anyway, go to sleep. And awakeness, and Wolfie is on a murder rampage-ness. But I'm going to go kind of southness here, just to make sure. Okay, he seems to be out of attack mode, but I'm still going to, for the sake of being safe, climb this giant mountain, because that's obviously safer for Wolfie, is it not? But yeah, anyway, Hyperbole and a Half is back, and she made a post about, you know, she does kind of the not journal, well, I guess kind of journal diary type comics and things, and they're very funny, but this one was about her struggle with depression, and it's a really good entry, and I recommend you check it out. It's very accurate an accurate and funny description of what it is like going through depression from the first person's perspective. I think you're out of attack mode, are you not? Let's do an experiment. Yeah, okay. So check that out, but also it's coming on the heels of, on Amazon, has recently been posted that she has a book, so perhaps she was gone for whatever reasons, that's her own business, but one of those is she was writing a book. And she didn't make that announcement in the blog post, but the book is on Amazon, and it has a release date of October 29th, 2013, so later on this year. Looking forward to that. So that was just kind of a cool little thing that I noticed pop up in my Google Reader. Google Reader, honestly. And yeah, that was just something I felt like mentioning. Because I, you know, similarly felt like my experience with suddenly... just trying something out. I'm sure it was the same experience for her. She's just posting funny little drawings on the internet, and then suddenly that becomes a major thing. Very similar experience for a lot of us doing the YouTubes. But yeah, let me get to some of these questions. One of the questions I got from a donator from Carson is, where did you get the name Wolfie for your dog? I literally, if you go back to the episode where I found and tamed Wolfie, it was just off the cuff. I'm like, all right, Wolfie McWolfington, Esquire the Third Jr., or something like that. It was literally just off the cuff. I had no reason why. It's kind of my theme, like I say, and awakeness. I just literally call things as they are, you know, and a sheepness, you know, and that was a wolfness, so, and a wolfie. It works. It works indeed. Wolfie, I called my actual, in real life, box turtle Speedy. So a lot of E things that are... I'm naming things with adjectives. That's an adjective, right? Or is it a verb? I don't know. I don't know my English terms. But yeah, that's where Wolfie came from. No behind-the-scenes actual, you know... Golf, you noodle. Should have called him Noodle. Noodle. Gluten-free noodle. Another question from a wild Wookiee, as opposed to a tamed Wookiee. What is your favorite Simpsons quote? Mine is when Fat Tony says, "You have 24 hours to give us the money, and to show we're serious, you have 12 hours." My favorite quote, there's too many of them. Obviously, out of the way jerk-ass is one. I like Ralph Wiggum has very good quotes. One of my favorites is when I don't know the names of all the episodes, but Homer and Lisa go into one of their little those little, where he's trying to do things that Lisa likes doing, and they go into that like kind of spiritual yoga center or whatever, and they get into their isolation coffin type things, and he goes on a little bit of a journey, and it washes up on shore, and there's Ralph Wiggum, and look, Daddy, a whale egg. Oh, that's just funny. But yeah, there's way too many funny quotes from The Simpsons. I do appreciate the soothing ocean noises from Homer to Marge, obviously. And now my impersonation of that has been immortalized in a 26-some-odd minute loop on YouTube from a user. From a Farlander, I guess I should say. But yeah, hard to pick just like one quote that's my favorite. Because then I'll think, oh wait, but then there was this one, and then I'll see another episode, oh yeah, there was this, so... I suppose another one that a lot of people don't realize is the one where Homer is protecting Bart from the reindeer. It must have been a Christmas episode or something. And he's getting beaten up and holding Bart out of the way, and Bart's like, you know, after getting rammed by all of these reindeer antlers and things, and Bart's like, Dad, or Homer, or whatever he calls him, are you hurt? He's like, just my bones and organs. Yeah. But yeah, so I can think of many, many more. Ooh, look at that kind of sharp peak. A peak! Let's see. A Wild Wookiee goes on to ask a second question. What's your favorite Simpsons character? I'm a big fan of Homer. But I suppose if you're looking for kind of obscure characters, I would go for, what's his name? Gil. Is it Gil? Yeah, Gil the salesman, who's always kind of down in the dumps. Gil the salesman it has, you know, he makes those random, ooh, is this just kind of like us teetering on the edge? It is. It teeters. Teeters. There I go, naming things based on a descriptive adjective of them. Wolfie, thank you. Stop complaining. So yeah, Gil the salesman is just kind of a funny guy. I enjoy his cameos. Oh wow, it's got a whole big gaping hole in the edge. Cool. It's a cool little valley, I guess you could say. The teetering valley. So yeah, thank you for that question and donation to Child's Play charity. Tom from the Netherlands asked, do you like camping and hiking? Of course you do it all the time in Farlands or Bust. But what about in real life? I like hiking. I've never actually been camping. Like when people say camping, I assume they mean like with a tent, staying in the wilderness, living off the land. Well, maybe not living off the land, but you know, sleeping in a tent outside in the wilderness. Where? Trying to find my way around here. So that's what I would consider camping, but I've never been camping. I mean, at the most throughout, you know, grade and middle school, perhaps, you know, doing a sleepover with friends in a tent in, like, the backyard, but that I don't think is considered. When you could just get up to go to the bathroom in the house, not really considered camping, per se. But I do enjoy hiking. It's been a while, but I do like hiking, particularly in the Southwest. I've answered this question before. Some of my favorite hikes would be the Grand Canyon, and went to a place called White Sands in New Mexico. It was a very cool hike. Just getting out in the wilderness and hiking around. Not too strenuous stuff. I obviously don't do hiking and then camping and then hiking back or anything like that, but I do, I guess what you could consider day hikes, where at the most you hike for a few hours, maybe have, if you're doing a long hike, you maybe stop and have a lunch or a snack or, you know, a picnic, and then you hike back or something like that. But, you know, not anything that really requires major, like, hiking equipment or backpacking. Yeah, I wouldn't call it... Careful, Wolf. I wouldn't call it backpacking as much as I would just call it, like, a day hike at the most. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Wow, look at... Speaking of hiking, look at all this... I was going to go towards that because it looked cool in the distance, but check this out. That's a nice waterfall. A nice waterfall indeed. I think we will perhaps camp in the shadow of this waterfall. Sounds like a decent idea. Whoop, hello. Maybe I should feed you. You're taking a few spills. Woof. I think he agrees that I need to feed him. Yeah, this is the type of stuff that you don't get in the current terrain generation. In the current terrain generation, if you were in a extreme hills biome, you would just be surrounded by extreme hills. Whereas here, it seems, and I don't know, maybe it is kind of the same sort of algorithm and I'm just interpreting it differently, but here it seems like there's an extreme hill over there, intersected by kind of an ocean beachy thing with a little bit of plains, and then there's another extreme hill here. So it's not particularly extreme hills everywhere, hills, hills, hills. It's kind of just a sparseness that I kind of like, where just, you know, you can be in between these two kind of random situations here, and then a little bit of forest. It's a little bit more organic, I suppose you could say. Sometimes it doesn't make sense where there's a desert with snow on it, but it's kind of a little bit more dynamic. Appreciation for Beta 173 terrain generation. Let's go to sleep and explore it further in the morning. And awakeness. And I just noticed I am missing half a heartness, so it's a good time as any to have. Speaking of going hiking and having a little bit of a lunch, let's have a snack. Om nom nom. Let's give Wolfie a snack. Hey, guy. Hey. Boop. Very nice. Let's continue exploring. I guess speaking of a beach, a question from a Farlander on YouTube asked, what is your opinion on the beach? I dislike it and its political stance. No. What is your opinion on the beach? Any childhood memories associated with the beach? Living in the middle of Illinois, the middle of the Midwest, we don't have that many beaches. I mean, we have, obviously, the Lake Michigan beaches and stuff like that, the Great Lakes, but I never really spent much, if any, time there, and I wouldn't, you know, they're not really your typical beaches for sunbathing or swimming or ocean type stuff. Oh, seeds. So I would not consider the Midwestern beaches to be that, but I do remember going to the beach probably the first time I saw the ocean as a kid. We went to the East Coast. We have family out there. We went to the beaches, I believe it was New Jersey. I am not sure. There's some sort of boardwalk there. I remember the beach being a lot more seaweedy than I would have anticipated. And as a kid, and even currently going to the beach, I'm not a big swimmer. I'm not going to go out there and do laps. Oh God, holy mackerel. Okay, I guess that wasn't as dramatic as I made it out to be, but my heart kind of dropped. I've had experiences where I do fall in a hole and end up falling for quite a distance, so... So yeah. The thing I don't like about the beach is that getting out to the point where you can't see the water or what's underneath you. You know, when you look at pictures and desktop wallpapers of the beach, it's always the crystal clear beaches with blue, and you can see the sand underneath, and it's amazing and sparkly, and there's not an entire group of people taking up the way, you know, it's, you know, kind of the stereotypical tropical paradise beach, but that's rarely the type of beach you get to go to as a normal, not independently rich or wealthy person. So I don't like the parts of the, you know, getting out deep enough where you can't see what's beneath you, and then you end up like stepping on something that is of questionable origin, and it's like, ah, what is that? Get it off, get it off. It's a piece of seaweed, it touched me. So, I think that's another Simpson quote, isn't it? Homer is, I'm pretty sure it's Homer. What is, I can't even remember what it was. But yeah, he's like, oh, it touched my leg or something like that. I don't know about the seaweed. But there's always that. There was a time, I remember I did step on something, and I think it was on the East Coast, or maybe it was Florida. We took vacations to Florida. I think it was Florida, where I touched something, and I was in the mode where I wanted to collect a bunch of shells and stuff, where I touched something with my foot that seemed fairly solid. I'm like, ooh, this is a pretty big shell. So I reach down, pick it up, and I bring it out of the water, and it's a giant starfish. Not like a little starfish. It was like the size, it must have been, you know, if you were measuring from point to point, at least a foot. It was like a 5-pointed starfish, very long and thin, spindly arms, maybe like 5 or 6 arms. And I pulled it up, like out of the water to inspect it, as if, oh, this is a shell. No, it's a starfish, and its little arms were kind of moving slowly. I freaked out and threw, well, more or less kind of, you know, one of those, you know, you toss it away. I'm like, all right, I'm done with the ocean. Which, you know, looking back at it, I'm like, that would have been kind of cool, even though I know you're not supposed to really touch or mess with starfish. I think it causes them undue stress and perhaps death. Careful, Wolfie. But that I remember being a moment as a childhood memory. So I'm not a huge beach going person, I guess. I suppose I like the beaches, or I would like the beaches that are more about like hiking, not necessarily like laying out on the beach or going into the water, but more like hiking. I suppose like the cliffside beaches. I know the West Coast has a lot of those. Or even, I did go the one time I went to Mexico. There is the Mayan ruins, I believe called, is it Tulum? On the same coast as Cancun. Went there, and that's right on the coastline, and there is a little beach that you could go down, but there's cliffs and stuff, and I enjoyed that more for just exploring around and hiking. I didn't actually, like, decide to, you know, go swimming in or do the normal lay on the beach type thing. So that sort of stuff I could see enjoying, and very picturesque, I suppose, but not, you know, I'm not a huge water person, beach going person. I'm not particularly fond, you know, when I do go on vacation, I don't go I don't go to your typical resort places, all-inclusive, this or that. I just find those to be not as exciting as the hiking or the, you know, the Southwest or the, you know, that sort of stuff. Exploratory stuff. Watching rocket launches and things from Florida. Woof. Wolfie agrees. So yeah, thank you for asking that question. Let's see. Sorry, I'm both watching where I'm going and looking at my notepad. Oh, hello, excuse me. I have all these questions, I'm just trying, I should order them in the order in which I wish to answer them. This I could kind of run down really quickly. Resident Halo asked, have you ever had any interesting part-time jobs in college or high school? I don't know about interesting. In high school, I worked, I suppose I could just go down the list of places I've worked. My first job in high school was, as it normally is in high school, a retail experience. I worked at a pet store, which was strange, being as the only pet I ever owned was a box turtle. But they were hiring, and I was being pressured to get a job from my parents, so I'm like, okay, minimum wage. I lasted about a month and a half there. I was kind of like a stock person because I realized I didn't really want to deal with people at the register, and I kind of requested I would rather have a stock position to the person, even though at times they did make me go be a cash register, which was the worst part of the job. I hated it, and part of the reason why I'm like, I've had enough of dealing with people and customers and stuff. But I was mainly a stock person, you know, loading up the giant 50-pound bags of dog food, and as most pet stores, I'm sure you're aware, they're allowed to bring their pets in, and whenever they do, the pets decide to leave something behind for you to find in the aisles, and that was always interesting. So yeah, that was part of the job, and I'm just like, you know what, I've had enough. This is, you know, whatever, I'm 16, 17 years old, I don't really need a job. I didn't, like I said, didn't have that many friends. I didn't go out places or go to movies or dances or you know, whatever you young whippersnappers did at the time, so kind of quit that. Then I eventually ended up at another retail thing in the mall, which was okay. That was kind of one I didn't care about. I can't remember how long I stayed there. Then another one at a different mall at, I suppose, I'm not sure if you guys know about what a Yankee Candle is. Yeah, no, very strange. How on earth did you end up at a Yankee Candle? I had a friend of a friend who was a manager there, so that was kind of a little bit more laid back, but still dealing with customers. I actually stayed there for quite a while. I think I quit to then go to college, so I stayed through that for a long time. That was, you know, it was a small store, so it was pretty easy to handle. There wasn't much, you know, I came home smelling like candles. Quite lit, like all the candles. You know, you think, oh, this is Beach Sunrise, or whatever the name of the weird candles were. This smells nice. It must be nice coming home smelling like this all the time. No, because you don't come home smelling like strawberries or Beach Sunrise. You come home smelling like every candle mixed together and then smothered all over your body. That is what you came home smelling like. So it was easy. It was easy getting gifts for like my mom and grandma and stuff like that, because they like scented candles. But aside from that, there weren't that many perks to it. Again, another one of those. That it paid okay, I guess I could say that much, which is probably a good reason to have stayed. But yeah, I guess those are the main, you know, you always end up with crummy jobs throughout high school and college, and you know, while I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't recommend spending time doing something that you dislike, such as staying in a job and stuff like that. When you're growing up through high school, I think it's okay to have, it should almost be like required for people to have like a retail job or even like a food service restaurant job. I never worked like in that or anything like that, but because then you end up appreciating those people and those situations better, because you can always tell, as, you know, a retail clerk, you can always tell the people who have never had to deal with customers, or who have never had a retail job or experience dealing with the general public. They tend to have a little bit more disrespect towards you, and they don't understand. And I assume, like I said, not having ever had a job in food service, but I assume those are the people who end up with the most spit in their hamburgers. But yeah, I would recommend it. But, you know, always, like I said, I was 16, 17. I'm like, I don't need this job. It's kind of just more for an experience thing. And it's what the parental units want me to do, so I'll do it or whatever. But, yeah, those are a few of my jobs through high school. But that could be a much longer and more interesting stories about past jobs, I suppose, in the future. I'll save that for later. But thank you for that question. Who asked that? That was asked by... Where was it? Did I say who that was from? Resident Halo. That's right, I said Resident Halo. Thank you, everybody, for the donations. Great stuff going to Child's Play charity. You can do that over at farlandsforbus.com on the homepage. There's a little donation widget. Official Child's Play charity donation widgets. And thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Farlands or Bust. I will see you in the next one. My name is Kurt. I will see you, I said this already, next time.